Welcome to LLC, it's Sports Time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Todd Covington, who is a former kicker and punter at Hampton University. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad it kind of got you in a roundabout way, trying to get a hold of Mike Husted and got a hold of you, but this works out real good. But you grew up in Newport News and played rec ball and all that, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
Talk to me a little bit about what you played.
Oh, growing up, I played just about everything my mom could put me in.
Your mom's a
or whatever. Yeah, baseball, basketball, football. You know, everything I could pretty much did.
Would you always played? Was you always a kicker, or is this just something that came about as?
That's just something that came about. You know, when I was in Little League football, I actually was an offensive lineman. So big difference. Yeah. I was a big old fat chunky kid.
Oh, okay.
But the kicking thing came about just later on when I hit about 8th grade, 9th grade, somewhere in that range.
All right. And what did you play in baseball and basketball?
Pitched and played first. Okay. And guard and basketball. I mean, actually guard, small forward, that kind of type of thing.
Okay. So, do you remember some of your coaches from back there? Or is that too far back?
Kind of far back. I remember in middle school, Coach Klein was my basketball coach at Newsom Park Middle School. Okay. Some of my Little League coaches, Coach Keever, I remember him. Coach Procise, back when I played with the Giants, gosh, when I was 12 years old. I'm old now, so I can't remember all of it. But yeah. But
anyway, and then after you went to middle school, then you end up going to Ferguson High School.
Yes, sir.
Now at Ferguson, you had two different coaches there. First one was Steve Isley. I know Steve right well. Now, did you play as a ninth grader there, or how did that work?
Yeah, I was in JV.
Right.
And then I actually backed up at the time. The varsity kicker was Greg Beach.
Okay.
Remember him? And he was the varsity. So I traveled around. You know, I was a JV kicker, and I traveled around. You know, just in case he got hurt. And so from my sophomore year on, I punted and kicked all through.
What was your best? Was your punting better, or your kicking, or just they're both equal?
They were both. You know, going through high school, they were both kind of equal. I thought I was always a better punter, and then kind of developed in that. You know, later on.
Now you got to play with some pretty good athletes when you were at Ferguson High School, namely Aaron Brooks.
Yep.
And he was your holder.
Oh yeah, Aaron Brooks, my holder. He was one of the best, probably the best I ever had.
Well, talk a little bit about that experience, because that's a lot different than coming from rec ball.
Yeah, that was it was a big difference. You know, in baseball, you kind of start growing up. You know, as you start coming into your own.
Right.
When you really start getting into high school, I did. I was kind of a late bloomer. You know, from developing, talent-wise.
Right.
So, but it was, definitely learned, at the time I hit my senior year is when I really start, coming to my own, from a baseball standpoint, football standpoint.
Now, you played football and baseball all the way through high school.
Yes, sir. My senior year, I made, all district as a first baseman as pitcher, and had offers to go play for James Madison. So they offered me to come up there and pitch, along with football too as well.
Right. Well, are you going to do both?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I was going to do both.
Wow.
Yep.
But your SATs weren't good enough.
SATs weren't good enough, so that's why I had to.
I could.
Grades were good. SATs were a little rough.
Well, some people are test takers, and other people aren't. So you took a step and went to Hargrave.
Yep, I went to Hargrave Military Academy for a year.
Okay, for a year, and that made you eligible. So you didn't end up going to JMU then?
Nope. So
and you had other places that you could have gone.
Yes, sir.
And talk a little bit about the recruiting process, because it's different now than it was when you went through it.
Yeah, back when it's kind of the same thing, except obviously there's a lot more technology. So these kids, these days got a lot more stuff that they can put out for them to get recruited.
Right.
Facebook and Twitter, and it's a lot easier for them.
Well, and shots of the game.
Oh yeah, back in the day we had VHS.
Yeah.
So those were very clear.
Yeah.
But when I came out, Hargrave was a great experience. At the time I didn't think it was, because it was rough. I had to. Military school was not what I was planning on doing when I got out of school. I wanted to go play ball and enjoy the college experience. But it was, you look back now, and it was a great experience.
Discipline.
Oh, big time. Every morning we had to get up at 5:30 in the morning and march to every one of our meals. So you went to class all day, then you had to go to football practice during the evening. So it was a regimented, pretty much schedule. So that's the way it was. But it was worth it. We got to play a lot of big-time colleges.
That was because I want to know who your opponents were while you were there.
At Hargrave, we played all of, they called them JV teams. It was basically what it was. It was the freshman and sophomore teams at major colleges. We played Navy, Army, Virginia Tech, Marshall, Georgia Southern, So that's just some of the schools that we got to play.
Yeah, it's because both those guys got recruited there too. So pretty good athletes.
Yep.
Did you do both while you were at Hargrave, or did you just football?
Just football. They didn't have a baseball team.
Okay.
Not for the PGs, postgraduates.
Okay, so now you leave Hargrave, and you end up going to HU, but that wasn't the only choices you had.
No. I was actually East Carolina was the school that I was actually getting ready. So they wanted me just to come and punt.
Right.
And then I got super homesick when I was at Hargrave for the year. So Hampton University came along and said, "Hey, look, we'll give you a full scholarship just to kick, or just to kick and punt. And you can stay at your own house, eat your mama's home cooking." And I said, "I'm in. Let's do it."
That's a no-brainer.
Yep.
Well, East Carolina was my alma mater, so
okay.
You had a chance to go down there. That was nice. Now, while you at Hampton University, you're probably one of the last straight-on kickers that they recruited.
Yeah, I was the last one. From what I understand, I was the last one of the, if not the last guy in the state of Virginia to receive a Division I, scholarship for straight-on kicking. So it was a pretty unique experience.
But you also punted.
I've also punted, so I had to run up and down the sideline with no shoe on. Back most of the game.
Well, did you use a different shoe to punt than to kick?
I had one of the big old Tom Dempsey square toe shoes.
Oh, the square toe, yeah.
And a regular cleat to punt. So I would never know what I was getting ready to do. So most of the time I had to run down the sideline with just my sock on, because it could be 3rd down and 10, and we think I'm getting ready to go out and punt, and all of a sudden we throw a bomb, score a touchdown. I'm outside running the sewer line to try and tie my shoe up.
So you could kick the extra point.
Yep.
Do you remember who your holder was when you was HU?
David Wyman was one of my holders.
Okay.
He's unbelievable. Still one of my best friends. He's a great guy. He was awesome.
You developed relationships while you were in college that you just keep forever, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about it, because a lot of people don't understand that it's almost like networking, but it's who you know and who they know, and if you're friends with people, they introduce you to people that can help.
Yeah. Some of the guys that I went to college with, I'm still best friends with. Like, for example, I just said David Wyman. He was in my wedding. And these guys, because you're with them basically 24 hours a day.
Right.
And they're your family. So they stay that way the rest of your life. We're a frat.
All right. But while you were nominated for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, 2 years ago I was nominated for Virginia Hall of Fame. I'm on that 5-year list.
Okay.
There's no kickers in it, so it's kind of tough. It's like I don't think there's any kickers. Kickers is a tough position for them getting in the Hall of Fame, but it was definitely an honor to even be mentioned or nominated.
Right. Yeah.
I feel very blessed for that.
Well, that's great. Now, we also want to talk a little bit about your dad. And the reason I bring it is because a lot of people know fast pitch softball at Fox Hill. And your dad came in after Pete Peterson and broke his records. And Pete did a pretty good job out there.
Oh, yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, because I'm assuming you went with your dad to the ball games.
I spent half my life at Fox Hill, all the way from being a baby all the way to about, I guess, I want to say somewhere, I think, 8 years old. So we were there every single weekend, traveling all around from here up and down the East Coast. So my whole life, was kind of dedicated to the ball field. That's kind of where I learned how to play baseball, too, at the same time.
But your grandfather also was a pitcher.
Yes, sir.
They called him what?
Bullet Bill.
Bullet Bill. So here you got your grandfather and your father, but you said, nah, baseball's bull by.
No, I couldn't grasp that whole softball thing. And my dad used to take me outside in the yard and make me catch that fast pitch softball, and them rise balls and drop balls used to scare me to death. That was not for me.
All right, let's talk a little bit about after college. You graduated from college, and you're still trying to get on with the NFL. So
yes,
you
sir.
do tryouts and all that, and right up to 2003, I think you said.
2003.
So what year did you graduate from college?
Officially 97.
97.
And, yeah.
Okay, so you talk from 97 to 2003. Talk about some of the teams and what that experience was like, because now you're going against everybody else, and you are now kicking soccer style, I'm assuming.
Well, when I was trying to NFL, it was just strictly punting.
Oh, still?
So I retired the shoe. I retired the straight-on shoe.
Okay.
So in doing that, I just strictly did punting. My first tryout was with later in 97, early 98 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And that's when you met Mike Houston?
Yeah, that's when I stayed at his house, and that's where I did, that's what did my first tryout there. And then from there on, wherever I had an agent at the time would send me to do a tryout, I got to try out with teams, the Ravens, Baltimore Ravens, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Buffalo, Carolina, the Steelers, just a a bunch of teams. So it was a great experience.
That's got to be an experience in itself, just to get a tryout.
Oh yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah. Did Mike help you much at all and give you some hints on what to do and how to approach these tryouts?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He still does.
Talk a little bit about that. What were some of the things he talked to you about?
Well, the basic thing: keep your head down. Try not to be nervous,
right.
Because obviously you're going to be nervous. Especially the first tryout I did was just I was a wreck.
You dropped the ball.
I was just scared to death. But the basic things you would tell a kicker or a golfer: keep your head down, follow through,
right,
and try to not pay attention to the crowd and who's around you, and just focus on what you're supposed to be doing. Okay,
now during the tryouts, because I'm trying to picture this in my mind. Is it just the kickers, or everybody else all the rest of the team is there? How does this work?
It depends on which one. Some there was, I went to some places the whole team was around and, at different positions.
Right.
And if you went to something like that, the kickers were always the last one, so I had to wait around all day.
Right.
To do the tryouts. But it just depends on where, different teams.
Wow. So that experience in itself has got to be unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I got a lot of good friends that I'm still with that, from the NFL that I got the pleasure to meet and still friends with. So. Right.
Do you keep up with any of the kickers that you ran into while you were trying out with the NFL? Any other than Mike Houston?
I'm friends with some of the guys because what I do now is, basically with my business now is I actually teach kids how to do it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that too in just a second.
Yeah, so a lot of the guys that I've kind of networked with, I'm friends with. Some of the retired, Greg Hendrick used to kick for the Green Bay Packers for years. Louis Aguilar, who punted for Kansas City for years and years, and a bunch of other temes. So, and Mike Houston, of course, still.
Okay.
Mike Hollis.
So we're going to kind of wrap this thing up, but I want to talk about Todd Covington All-Star Kicking. Because this is how I got involved with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So talk a little bit about what it is that you're trying to do, and what your organization is about.
What I do is I basically I teach guys, kickers and punters and snappers. So I teach all three phases of the special teams game. And help. I kind of came up with the idea a couple years ago because I live up in Williamsburg, Virginia now. And there's the Wisk Center, which is a Williamsburg indoor sports complex.
Right.
Houses over 1,600 soccer players. And most colleges, it's tough to get a scholarship as a soccer player, but if you can kick a football, they'll give a scholarship to you real quick. And I'm kind of a testimony to that. So that's kind of why I started doing what I do and try to give other kids, that same opportunity that I had. Because when I was growing up, we didn't really have any,
no camps, just for kickers.
Yeah, and there's still, to this day, there's still not a lot of high school coaches and stuff these days, still, they just run to the soccer team, hey, grab this guy and hopefully he can kick. So that's kind of, what I like to do is just help kids out and give them the opportunity that I got.
Do you see a soccer player that you might talk to about this? Or how does that work?
Yeah, I run into guys all the time. I was outside doing a training yesterday for a few of my guys yesterday, and there was 3 soccer players on the field up there in Williamsburg at the where I do my training at the War Hill Sports Complex.
Right.
And they were just amazed, watching these kids kick football. I said, hey, this could be you. You can get the opportunity to, earn yourself a scholarship. So, basically teaching these kids how to leverage their sport to, to get the opportunity to play college football.
But you don't do just kicking. You do punting and long snappers.
Yes, sir.
Because long snappers are, coaches love a long snapper.
Oh, yeah. And if a long snapper guy could just long snap and get a full scholarship just to snap and spend 4 years in college just snapping and take it all into the NFL too.
Right. Talk a little bit before we wrap this thing up about the talent in this area, in the 757 area, but there's so much talent in football especially, but there's other sports too. But why do you think that is, and talk a little bit about what you see as the reason we've got such great talent in this area?
Well, this is a great area for it. I mean, the kids growing up, this is just the schools, from Hampton High School to Phoebus, they just develop their athletes, and this is just a great area for it. It always has been from here all the way up to 804. This is always, we just pulled a lot of great athletes out of this area. And I still, I have the privilege of working with a lot of them.
That's got to make you feel good.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Very good. Well, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I want to thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Todd Covington. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Until next time.